Good morning and welcome back to our very special Women's Month edition of Sun Up on 7. Just before the break, Kevin and I were here giving an insight as to patriarchy as it pertains to the Belizean society here in 2022. But now we're joined here with our first guest, the Honorable Mrs. Tracy Panton, who is the area representative of the Albert Division. And we are here discussing the recent outcome of the convention, the UDP convention, which was held last Sunday, as well as finding ways how women can find an adequate place in politics here in Belize. Good morning.
Good
Ms.
morning.
Tracy. How
Good
are you
morning.
doing this morning? And welcome back to our coach.
Thank you. Thank you for having me,
morning, Ms.
and good morning to our viewers. It's always a pleasure to be on Sun Up.
All right.
It's good to have you here. I just want to commend you for the hard work that you've been putting
Yes.
over the last few months or now, so like especially the last 2 weeks, which were very crucial in your life as a politician, but in your life in general.
Right.
And you did it. You did it.
You know, I am particularly pleased at what we were able to accomplish. You know, when the deck was stocked. And for women, it is a particularly steep hill to climb. I think that coming within 3 votes of becoming the leader of the opposition and the leader of the United Democratic Party is an incredible accomplishment. And I have both women and men to thank for their unwavering support to the campaign and to the vision and hopes and aspirations we have, not only for the party, but as I always say, more importantly, for Belize.
Ms. Tracy, so in terms of the convention, we understand the whole incident, and I've been watching the interviews that you've done with Channel 5 and with Jules recently. In terms of the call for a recount, and you expressed some disappointment in what the chairman actually did, or what he called no recount, and take it to the court. Could you tell us why not take the approach of taking the UDP to the court?
I think the call of the chairman was completely unacceptable. I believe that if it were in reverse, he would have offered a recount. That's part of the hurdle that we as women face, particularly in political leadership. Why not take the party to court? We have all seen what the United Democratic Party has been through in the last 20 months. It has been a tumultuous time. We have spent all our time fighting each other instead of doing the work that is required of us to unite our party, to heal our party, to rebuild our party, to position the party to once again be in government, to offer leadership and service to the Belizean people. I don't know that taking the party to court helps the cause. I entered politics because I wanted to serve my country. And whether I am the leader of the opposition or leader of the party or not, I will continue to serve this country and to serve the party and to do the things that the party needs to do to regain its composure, to reestablish its credibility, to inspire hope and confidence in the voting population. There are some in my camp, of course, who feel, go for it. I'm not sure that we can at this time. We would have had to make that decision immediately on the ground to ensure that the ballot boxes were not compromised, to ensure they were sealed, support that they were placed in proper custody. That didn't happen on that day. And so for me, the task at hand is to contribute to the rebuilding of the party. I'm not quitting. I am confident that I will be the leader of the United Democratic Party in the future. And so I will continue to be engaged with our constituency committees to work closely with my colleagues who are the caretakers and elected officials of this party, and to do what we need to do to support the greater good, the greater vision of the party that will serve Belize.
Ms. Tracy, on that note there, and I could imagine some people asking as well, and while we're on the topic of patriarchy, due to this special Sun-Up episode, a lot of people I could imagine are saying that, well, look at the Honorable Tracy Panton. She's not taking a stand. She's being somewhat, she's taking a step back from fighting for the recount to happen, taking it to court. What would you say, besides the trying to save the reputation, let's say, of the UDP at this point, could have added to that? What would you respond to those people saying that, you know what, she's just being insubordinated because men dominate politics?
No, no, not at all. As I said, my bid for the leadership of the party was because I believe that my candidacy is what not only the party needs, but what the country needs. A decision was taken on the floor of the convention hall. The decision was taken by the chairman who, within the confines of the constitution of the party, has the right to make that call. And we advocated vociferously for him to reconsider his position. I think he did a disservice, quite frankly, to my competitor because the legitimacy of his leadership is in question. We have to move our party forward. And there are different ways of fighting. And I think women fight differently than men. It's, you know, there is no point in tearing the party. I mean, we're all already at rock bottom. And so we have to act in accordance that serves the party and the supporters of the party and what serves the country. I don't think that makes me weak. I don't think that makes me taking a step back from fighting. I am a fighter. What we were able to accomplish in 1.5 months, because you know I had to take a 2-week suspension of my campaign, is absolutely incredible. It's absolutely incredible. You know, my competitor had the influence of the former prime minister. He had, quote unquote, the support of the Caucus for Change. He kept saying he had 23 constituencies supporting him. There were lots of money spent in this convention, and we were able to come within 3 votes.
3 votes.
I think that's incredible. And it may have fallen short of where we wanted to be, but this is not the end of Tracy Panton, not at all.
Yeah.
In terms of the votes, do you feel like the women in the UDP supported your candidacy?
Not all the women, no. I had certainly the support of the United Democratic Party's National Organization for Women. They were the first endorsers out of the gate, as you know, much to the party's dismay for some reason. And there were many supporters of the United Democratic Party who were women who supported my candidacy. But there were also many men and senior officials, male senior officials in this party that supported my candidacy. I did not run, and I keep making this point, because I am a woman. That's obvious, right? I chose to run for leadership of the party because I believe I have the capacity and the experience and the integrity and the drive and the passion to serve this country. I happen to be a woman. So it's really how you look at a person's candidacy.
And I love that shout out that your mom did in that video, yes.
I want to reflect on 2 things that you've mentioned. And one of that was the thin margin with who is leader now, which was 3 votes. And you've mentioned it was a lose, but it was not an ugly lose, right? If we can say that. At the same time, you're saying that this is not stopping you from going for what you want, which I feel is very important for other people that are following you and your candidacy, in that in order for us to progress, or for women to progress, it's important to have that consistency in the work. It's like, it was a downfall, but this is not the end of you. And I feel like that should resonate with a lot of women that are following your story. I mean, you mentioned that you're doing it as a politician, but at the same time is giving women that space. So going forward.
So yes, it's so, all right. So it is a hurdle that we were not able to cross.
Right.
Right? And there were lots of challenges in this campaign, and we were able to move beyond them. And we will be able to move beyond this. As women, the truth is, we have to work twice as hard. We have to set the highest standards for ourselves. It is a patriarchal society, and while we have been more accepting of women leadership in civil society and religious affairs, that kind of thing, women in political leadership have had to walk a hard road. And I am pleased of the fact that we were able in this campaign to make a few more cracks in the glass ceiling. That's clear. And I want every person hearing me, every young woman who has political aspirations, every woman who is involved in the political work in this country, in any political party, that we must keep forging forward, and we must not stop until we reach the ultimate goal, and that is for us to have a meaningful voice at the decision-making table at the highest level. That's my ambition, and I will continue to work in that ambition. I will not allow this to derail me, because the reason I am doing this is to serve my country and to set the example and to blaze a path for young women coming behind me.
Yeah. So what is your vision as to how can we get there? Because I am definitely confident that people that are following your story, other young women that want to get involved, other women that want to get involved in politics, maybe they're going to join you whenever you decide to go back into this position again. So that might just happen. Mm-hmm. How can we shatter the ceiling and be like, let's have quite a number of women out there, not just only supporting you, but also like saying, I want a place here in Parliament?
Well, hopefully they will be inspired by my story, one. And we have to keep working at it. We have to keep inviting more and more young women to take up active roles in political leadership as a whole, but particularly political leadership. I will tell you, we just completed a leadership training initiative for young women, 25 young women between the ages of 18 to 25. I sought that funding through the Caribbean Democratic Union, where I sit as the vice chair for women and minorities. It's a pilot project that has started in Belize, but it's a project that we hope to emulate in other Caribbean countries, because we have to prepare our young women to not only develop the skill sets, but to really have the confidence and the poise, and not to be fearful. You know, the intimidation tactics that are used against women, the slander, the mudslinging, you have to learn to rise above that. And that's not very easy to do. But if you believe in yourself, and you are bold and unapologetic in your approach, we can achieve great things. I hope to blaze that trail, and I hope to lead the way, and I hope to inspire many young women to take on these roles, because Belize needs our voice, and our voices need to be heard. It is not acceptable that 51% of our voting population are women, and yet we have so few women sitting in Parliament, either in the House or in the Senate. We have to change that equation if we are serious about nation building, if we are serious about ensuring that there's equity. Right. And, you know, we talk about gender equity and gender equality. We have to be serious about ensuring that our women have a place. And we have to stop worrying about the rules that are determined by men. and we must set our own rules, and we must find ways to work together and build each other up, not tear each other down. I've heard some comments by women that I find particularly disturbing, because women, we need to support each other. We don't have to tell the men to support each other. They do a very good job at that. But we have to find greater ways to support each other. We can respectfully disagree. We can share different ideas and opinions, but we have to be able to support each other so that we can rally for the greater good of this country.
Yeah. I am thinking, as you mentioned, we have to change the patriarchal system, and that will take quite civil unrest. I'm not saying protest, but that would call for changing the status quo and how we do things. And we've seen that there's a lot of legislation created by men that polices bodies of women, for instance. If we look at what are some of the challenges that young women face, is their sexual and reproductive health and rights, for instance, where we have a lot of young women that can't even, well, they're challenged or faced with barriers to access education because they might get pregnant at an early age, or even if, let's say, they don't want to have this child, they cannot legally access abortions in Belize, for instance.
Right.
So while you're advocating and campaigning for equality, is there like any of these like hard things that we need to like cause civil unrest that you're going to be advocating for, or like
civil unrest? Again, I think sometimes women fight differently than men, right? I do think that we have to be vociferous in our advocacy in the rights of women and girls. And we need to bring more and more people on board. And we can't say we're only rallying or looking for the support of our women. We need men to be part of this process with us. You know, we complement each other and we bring different skill sets to the table. But as a young man, you should also see the value of having women's voices at the table. You know, we are inherently nurturers, right? We give life, we give birth to new life. And so that's important when a country is at this stage of its development. And I think that the mark of a progressive company, a progressive country, is its ability to engage all citizens, men and women, girls and boys, young and old, in the process of making wholesome decisions and policies that affect the majority.
Yeah.
In terms, you had just stated that women need to be vociferous, women and men need to be vociferous for change, and especially in terms of women's rights and equality across the board. How could you see just being vociferous, standing up to the patriarchy, being effective? Because I'm picturing, and I'm pretty sure some of our audience members are picturing, you know what, the majority of the leadership in this country are men. And now you have women coming up and saying, hey, we want change. They looking back down and saying, uno, or uno the minority. When in actuality, they're the majority. Like you rightfully said, 51% of our voting population are women. How could you see just being vociferous? Or what other actions besides being vociferous?
Let me give you a concrete example. Recently, we have engaged in a parliamentary caucus of women that includes women representation from both political parties. We had a second meeting, which I missed because of Sunday's convention on Monday. But the idea is finding ways, even across the political aisle, in which we can not only advocate, but ensure that policies are enshrined that support gender equity in all facets of our society. So initiatives like that, initiatives, such as the leadership training for young women, the ability for us to network and to build a social network that shares similar ideas and a vision and, you know, hopes and aspirations to get us where we need today. We need to take the necessary steps. We need to plan for how we are going to get women in greater leadership roles in the political landscape of this country. I will be a very big part of that. I think this experience has cemented for me what I believe my role can be and should be to ensure that women voices are heard at the highest level of our decision-making table.
Ms. Tracy, while I'm reflecting on the conversation that Brennan and I had during the couch and having this conversation with you, we realized that nurturing and the way how our upbringing is plays a key role into how we're going to be adults in changing culture, in changing systemic barriers, is that we have to reflect on how we grow our children. So if for the parents that are like listening to us today, how can they nurture that leadership within their young girls?
You know, I think my mom said it best when I was little. I used to be the ringleader, right? For good and for bad, you know? I mean,
Ringleader.
there's going to be mischief. Tracy is leading the mischief. But we should never stem that leadership quality in our children. And we have to we have to teach them how to channel that leadership drive for good. And let them, there's a leader in each one of us. Each one of us. And it might not be political. You can be a leader in so many different facets of your life. And really learning, even in school. You know, I've listened sometimes how a teacher responds to a young man and how a teacher responds to a young woman. We have to start changing that mindset, and we have to call it out whenever we see it.
Right.
We have to call it out. And we have to, as women, have to show up. You know, we have to not shy away from the challenges that we face and the steep hill we have to climb. I remember Jules telling me it's a steep hill. I said, yes, it is a steep hill, but I have strong legs. So I am quite fine in climbing that hill, and I am confident that I will get to the mountaintop. It may take some time, it will take some effort, it will take some advocacy, it will take some relationship building and greater networking. It's going to take a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but I know it is possible.
Definitely.
And I will certainly not give up on that dream. Not only for myself, but for women.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, the fight is strong,
Yes,
right? I mean,
yes. The resolve is strong.
the resolve is strong.
Yes.
The challenges that women face may be twice as challenging as men.
Indeed.
However, like going back, your resolve is getting there to do something, do a meaningful change in the space. So we thank you so much for this reflection. We want to know what's next for you now.
Well, we have some serious work to do in the United Democratic Party.
Okay.
And I am going to be sure that I am up front and center in that work. I have to take care of my constituency, for sure, the Albert constituency. It's quite a privilege to be representing them. And the reason I'm able to do these things is because my constituents continue to believe in me and continue to support me. And then I need to take a little break, right? As a person, our family has been through a lot, not only with the campaign, but with the loss of, a beloved husband and doting father. And so we need time to heal from that as a family. And then we move on. We find our new space, our new reality, and we hold fast to our dreams, and we move forward. That's the plan.
Yeah, right. Ms. Tracy, one final question for me that I have, and it comes from an experience where I was literally, as people say, shook. My mouth was open, jaw dropped, everything. There was a conversation that I held with a woman who said boldly, I don't think that any woman should be a leader in any country. And I found that jaw-dropping, that a woman is saying something like this. And her reason was that we're ruled by our emotions. What would you have to say to women like that?
I think that's very disappointing that they don't see the value in themselves and what they're able to contribute to creating a more just and a more fair and a more equitable society. And we have to help educate them and sensitize them. Cultural change is always the hardest change, and there's a culture that we're trying to change, but it's not impossible. And I think we have made great strides. We have still a long way to go, for sure. But let us never underestimate the value that we as women bring to the table.
All right.
There
Thank
you
you
go.
for that.
Ms. Tracy,
Thank you,
thank you so
guys.
much for joining
you,
us on
thank
the
you.
couch today, for the reflection, for allowing us to dive into through your lens as to how can we work with our women to ensure that they're in the space, because who better to advocate for women's issues than women, right? Men, we can only assimilate and think these are things that are affecting women, but in reality, you are the one that are walking in those shoes, and you're the one that can better give us your experience, your insight, and find ways how we can meaningfully make those changes. So,
And if I can say one more
yes,
thing,
please do.
it's important for us to bring other women along. I'm not on this journey alone. I have women supporting me, and I have women that hopefully I'm inspiring, and that we have to bring other women along. And if each one of us brought another woman along, the journey would be so much shorter in terms of what we hope to achieve.
Great. Thank you. So
Thank you
there
so
we go.
much.
That was Miss Tracy Panton joining us on the couch today, reflecting on her career as a politician. We wish you all the best in your
Thank
rest,
you.
because rest is a must.
Definitely.
It's a must, and it's time for you to reflect and get back with all this enthusiasm and this energy that you have to make a meaningful change in Belize. So we wish you all the best, Miss Tracy. And with that, we go on a commercial break. When we're back, we're going to be talking about women in relationships and how can we get women to leave safely.